Live from San Jose, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley, it's theCUBE, covering Hadoop Summit 2016, brought to you by Hortonworks. Now, here are your hosts, John Furrier and George Gilbert.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Silicon Valley. We are here at the Hadoop Summit 2016. This is SiliconANGLE Media's theCUBE. This is our flagship program. We go out to the events and extract the signals from the noise. I'm John Furrier. My co-host, George Gilbert, SiliconANGLE Media's and Wikibon's big data analyst. We are here with Tony Kavanagh, CMO of Actian. Welcome to theCUBE.
Thank you very much, guys. Good to see you again.
First time on theCUBE. CUBE alumni, welcome, congratulations.
Thank you.
Give us the update on Actian. What's going on vis-a-vis the landscape of the exploding big data world here in this ecosystem? It's gone beyond Hadoop.
Yeah.
Things are changing, but it's growing. I mean, there's a lot of growth going on, but it wasn't growing the way people thought it was 10 years ago. It's completely going in a different direction.
Yeah, you know, it's a fascinating marketplace. It's no doubt things are changing radically right now, and if anybody doesn't see that coming, they've got some waking up to do. But the cool thing is, Actian is a very interesting company. We've been, you know, I've heard directly from customers, and we've been a little bit quiet over the past few years. So I want to just take a couple of minutes to give you guys and the viewers a view into who Actian are and what we do. You know, so it's a very interesting company. We're probably one of the best kept secrets in Silicon Valley right now. We're a little bit of a dark horse. We are actually one of the largest privately held software companies out there. We have over 400 customers. We have over 400 employees worldwide and over 10,000 customers, believe it or not. I'll tell you a reason why that is the way it is in a second. But we are a product portfolio company, so we have acquired companies along the way to build the current product portfolio set that we have. And what we do, we segmented those into two main categories, and the first of which is what we call the data management and integration business. At the core of that is, I'm sure everybody knows this name, is the core of that is the Ingress database. And I'm sure you're familiar with Ingress.
Yeah, I learned it in college, database class.
It's Ingress.
It's undergraduate.
I won't date you.
That's 80s.
But it is hitting its 40 years right now. I think it's 40 years old this year.
I wasn't 10, and believe me. No, but it's a proven database. I mean, it's an industry standard. It's one of those things that is still deployed, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Even to the point where it's almost a sleeping giant, if you like. So we have some of the largest companies in the world.
Give an example of like some of the things. I mean, most people think of Ingress like, oh, it's a mainframe, only small selection. It's not like that at all. It's a little bit more. It's larger than that. Can you give an example of kinds of deployments that Ingress is still running?
Yeah. So you have one of the largest. I can't name the name specifically. One of the largest airline companies in the world use it to schedule their aircraft around the world. I mean, that's a pretty important mission critical application. You know, we have revenue commissioners in a couple of European countries that use us maniacally, and they have no intention of moving off because there's such a deep footprint, and they've got such confidence in it they just have no intention of moving from it. So it's really a solid business, but of course it's got that a little bit of baggage because along came Oracle, along came IBM, along came Microsoft and SAP, and they swept the world. But we do have this great, solid, loyal, established customer base on the Ingress side. Along with that, in the DMI business, as we call the data management integration business, we have other products. We have the Versant database, which is an object database. So Versant is in our portfolio. We got P-SQL, which is an embedded database. And then we have our integration suite, which is Data Connect, Data Cloud, and Business Exchange. So we really do have some very interesting offerings there. But we want to talk about more specifically, because it's more relevant to the show, and I'm taking up a little bit of time on this, is our big data business, which is the Actian Analytic Platform. And in that we have Matrix, we have Vector, and we have Vector in Hadoop. So Matrix is massively parallel processing database, which is deep. We have Vector, which is broad and wide, and then we have Vector H, which sits in the Hadoop ecosystem, so that you can get access to the Hadoop data, and you can analyze it very, very, very quickly using SQL. So we can talk a little bit about
and
what
your
trends we're
solution,
seeing.
how does your solutions that those three things fit into this ecosystem? You guys contributing to open source? You guys use open source? Are you just working with open source solutions? Do you guys harden it? What's the role of Actian?
It's great question. So we make a clear distinction between being open and being open source. So we are a proprietary technology. So what we like to focus on is vector in Hadoop, because we're in with the Hadoop conference here, and we had Strata plus Hadoop at the.
So you probably have enterprise
September.
customers that want certain things, and they take Hadoop, use it for what it's worth.
But
Right? Is that the customer profile?
Well, so large enterprise customers trying to figure out how do you make sense of all of that data in Hadoop. There's a couple of, it's very interesting, I've been talking to Gartner and doing a lot of research on Gartner reports, and talking to Mike Galtieri recently about where is this business going, where's this market going, and he referenced this concept of data lakes becoming data swamps or data pits. So we're pushing lots and lots and lots of data into the Hadoop ecosystem. The challenge is, how do you get that out? And how do you get it out at speed? So what our real differentiation is in our Actian analytic platform is we're fast. Now I know it sounds like a speeds and fees literally, but we're so fast. We have independent benchmarks, a TPCH benchmark. We just released a paper today at SIGMOD, which adopted the TPCH
So performance-centric customers love you guys.
Absolutely, fast. And I'm talking 10, 100, 1,000 times faster than some of those.
So you allow people to do data lakes with massive speed.
Absolutely.
That
Pull
would
those queries using SQL, standard query language.
Okay, so let's take the impact of customers. That's probably financial transaction stuff. Okay, now in this world we're seeing a couple trends I want to get your thoughts on and how you see that, what's your vision there. The Docker container madness, we're seeing that at the application developer. Hadoop and open source in general seems to be stalled, right? Obviously, we have Arun Murthy on here saying, on the Cube saying, it's gone beyond Hadoop, which is basically implying Hadoop is one building block of a few other fundamental building blocks in big data.
Yeah.
So you have a developer tsunami coming in, application greenfield and brownfield developer opportunities, plus this DevOps cloud environment that's now gone mainstream.
Yeah.
So you have a developer dream situation here for the enterprise customers, because they now have the capability. Where do you guys fit into that whole trend?
Well, I think we step back. Is
it integration or?
So there's a very big question there. There's a lot of things.
Okay, big trend is DevOps, cloud, and developers. You could argue that it's a multi-tool world, multi-analytical tool world, integration world. Ecosystem is critical, so a lot of people are trying to figure out what the chessboard looks like.
Yeah, well,
customers are.
We are one of our top, the way we describe ourselves when we're talking to prospects and the market is that we solve some of the world's toughest data challenges. And with our data management and integration capabilities, we have the capabilities there to do that. And on our analytic platform, we have the capabilities to do that. But what we're seeing is
So you have that today. Integration's a big part of that.
Integration is a big part of what we do. So it sits alongside that ingress database. We have those additional offerings that allow us.
So the ingress guys love you because that's a path to the new promised land.
For integration, yeah.
For integration.
Yeah, and if you look at even in the Hadoop ecosystem, one of the big challenges on the big data world is data management. It's data integration. It's data sovereignty. So we can, at one part of our business, yes. Okay. The other side,
speaking.
Yeah, yes.
And not a connector as in API connector.
And the other side of the business is, I'm going to quickly pass that over, right?
Stuff happens on the Cube, it's live, so it's what it is.
And on the other side is the analytical business, is our analytical business. So what's interesting though is that yes, there's a lot of this groundswell of developers who are getting involved and who are really rolling through new open source technology, who are really trying to get their arms around what is the next big thing. The problem is that a lot of these open source technologies are not enterprise grade per se. They really aren't. When it comes down to how do we make this thing work for the enterprise. The interesting stat from Gartner talks about, there's two of them, if I can quote them. I haven't I wrote them down also, but I'll try and do them from memory. Through 2018, they say that 90% of data lakes are useless, or will be useless by 2018 because of they have become just this murky amalgamation of data. and folks are going to try and see how they can get things out of it.
Sure, I agree with that, but that's okay.
No, it's a good data point.
Yeah.
Another data point is that 70% by 2018 through 2018 again, 70% of Hadoop implementations will not have realized the ROI that they set out to do, just because of just an inappropriate or unsuccessful implementation or skills gap. There's a skills gap along with these new technologies. There's
this is a good point. You brought something that George and I and Peter Burst talking about, the valuation of data question, which is what is the value of the data? You can say, oh, if I'm running an Ingress database, I'm running flight plans on Ingress. That's pretty damn important. That data is pretty valuable for the company. But the data lake thing is interesting. So that forecast assumes that data is not worth anything, or is not being used, or it's not addressable. So you could argue, we are arguing that in the Wikibon team, is that if you have a data lake and the data is just sitting there and it, quote, looks like a swamp, if it's addressable and can move in real time at the right spot, it then becomes valuable. So it's the potential value of the data. So the question is, if you got a swamp that's not addressable and can't move with low latency to a transaction, then it's not valuable.
It's not valuable, exactly.
So the question is, that kind of poo-poos that thing. So you have to have the addressable data out there. How do you pull it out of the swamp?
So exactly. So you've got to, well, first of all, you've got to have the right plan. You've got to, I don't think we have actually figured this big data world out. The great thing is there's all these people who have got this massive mind share around trying to figure this thing out. We haven't quite gotten there. The future is bright, as we talked about, but where does it land? And where is the value in that? And we're trying to help companies do that with Actian, allowing you to get access to that data in a language that developers understand, which is SQL when it comes down to it.
So question on Actian, and then being part of a broader product line, or in this case, not in terms of some of the cloud vendors are putting together data management fabric, where it's a couple specialized databases that are kind of deeply integrated with each other. 4 or 5 years ago, like when Impala was just being talked about and introduced, people were like, okay, so now we're going to have a mature, BI-oriented SQL engine. We'll have Hive for ETL. But we had a profusion of these databases. What's the axis of competition now?
So I think here's what's really interesting, and I spent a couple of years at DataStax, which was a fantastic company, great technology, great people. What emerged from that over the couple of years, is that the databases are moving to this multi-model world. So recently, refer back to DataStax, they have released a DSE graph, or DataStax Enterprise Graph. So they're focusing in on different type of problem that these databases solve different problems, right? There's different use cases very much for different databases. There's something like 290 plus databases out there, and they're all built for varying purposes. So you've got to look across what is the use case? What are the use cases you're trying to address, and what is the right database for that?
Well, the database, if they don't have open data, if you have open data, it assumes the database is not an issue. You pick your database and just as long as it's open. So, but you have to have it. But it depends on what you're trying to solve for. So, Graph solves for something very, very different from a column store, and it does things very, very differently. So, you got that LinkedIn model or that Facebook model. It's a relationship model, and not a relational model, but the relationships and its vertices and axes and nodes and so on. And then you have your relational database. That's a very specific use case, as does a distributed database like an Apache Cassandra. Okay, so Tony, you have a challenge. You have Actian, have a portfolio of companies that were acquired together. But now it's a patchwork. I mean, look at Google Alphabet. I mean, you're starting to see that's now a norm in corporate business structure, and then build the synergies on top of it. Is there plans along that? Could you take a minute to explain kind of what your plans are with Actian, what your thoughts are?
Oh, absolutely, and it is a challenge. I mean, particularly when you acquire companies across, over a period, how do you make it all work together? And I think what we have done is we have looked at, we said, right, data management and integration is one aspect. It's a significant thing to solve for, and that the analytics piece is also something we have looked at as being separate. But there's a cross-sell opportunity there. There's definitely a cross-pollination. I mean, as we talked about in the Hadoop ecosystem, data management, integration, sovereignty is a very, very important thing. Oftentimes, something that you've got to think of first, which is something we have not done.
Global businesses have to think about that for sure.
Absolutely, but we've not done that from the outset, and now it's coming back to being that. So what we're doing is we're actually looking into the market, and we have an established business, and we, as you said, we've over 400 employees and thousands of customers. And we've got amazing technology. Now we just got to figure out where does that apply. And the world we talked about at the outset is changing, and rapidly changing.
Big opportunity.
So it's a massive opportunity. So it behooves us. We have to step back and go, okay, what is happening now? You know, in conferences like this, they're burgeoning. I mean, it's bigger than it was last year. Strata plus Hadoop in New York is going to be. It's going to be incredible. I mean, we're looking forward to being there.
Well, it's always the eye of the storm. You don't know whether you're in the eye of the storm or the storm passed you by, but cloud has certainly over the past year, 2 years, but this past 12 months, exploded the big data world.
Exploded.
Now you got compute, you got interoperability, now you got Docker containers for application developers, so the whole DevOps thing is just propelling the applications into the data into the applications.
Yeah, so what we've done, so to that point, what we've done is we're stepping back and we're getting out there, putting our feelers out, doing a lot of research. There's a couple of key trends that we saw, we're seeing popping up. One, of course, is the continued growth of Hadoop. Contrary to whatever the analysts are saying about whether things are going to be successful or not, the growth is there and it's not stopping.
Okay, so my final question, I got to ask the question that's on my mind, everyone's mind. Is there a master plan being hatched right now at Actian headquarters? Sounds like you're doing the research. Big opportunity. A lot of assets in play here.
I think you always, you know, in our business, you've always have to be hatching a master plan. You really do. I mean, it's particularly at the rate at which the market is moving. You've got to always be on top of what's coming.
You got to be ahead of that next train
because people expect that of you. And you know, it's for us. What's next is really we've been quiet. I'm telling you, I'm not behind the door about this. Actian has not been out in front of the market, and we're going to change that. We're going to change it.
As CMO, you're going to change that. You hope to change that, right?
I hope to change that.
All right. Tony, thanks for coming on theCUBE. CMO of Actian here on theCUBE at Hadoop Summit. The world is exploding. There's great stuff happening in big data, cloud, analytics, all driving value, big value. This is theCUBE, live from Silicon Valley. We'll be right back with more after this short break.